Plumbing contractors have a simple test that anyone can perform right in the store without any special tools, professional training, or help from the employee behind the counter. Pick up the same brand from both shelves and weigh them in your hands. The retail version is lighter by a noticeable margin, even though the model name and the chrome finish are identical on both units. On the inside, the brass cartridge has been swapped for plastic, and that isn't an accident or a factory mistake. It's the business model. 5 brand names are running the same play right now, and the first trap is the one most homeowners fall for because they think they're buying a name they trust. Item 1. The big box SKU downgrade. You walk into Home Depot or Lowe's, and you see the names you grew up with. Delta, Moen, and Kohler are lined up on the shelf, and every one of them looks like the faucet your plumber would install without a second thought. Pick up the box. The chrome shell looks completely identical to the supply house model sitting on the plumber's counter. But the model number on that box isn't the same number your plumber would order from the wholesaler. Manufacturers have run a quiet 2-tier system for decades. The retail SKU gets plastic drains, a plastic or stainless cartridge, and thinner castings, so the company can hit the price point the big box chain demanded. The supply house version keeps the brass body, the ceramic disc cartridge, and the metal escutcheons that can survive hard water for 15 or 20 years without corroding through. You're paying for the logo, but you're getting the disposable internals. Plumbing firms confirm this happens regularly. Gray Bruce Plumbing and S&A Construction document that contractor-grade fixtures feel heavier because they contain more metal. The retail version is engineered to last 5 to 10 years, while the supply house version is built for 15 to 20 years or more without grinding. It's the same brand on the outside. It isn't the same product inside. The retail SKU on the shelf may use a different cartridge family entirely, and you won't know until the handle starts grinding or the drip starts. That trick works because you still see the familiar logo on the box. But the next trap is worse, because the logo itself is the trap, and there's no supply house version anywhere that can save you from the house brand downgrade. Item 2. The house brand trap. Lowe's sells Allen & Roth, Project Source, and the AquaSource line. Home Depot pushes Glacier Bay. These are not independent manufacturers competing on quality. They are house brands built from the ground up to hit a shelf space price point, and they use pot metal bodies with plastic cartridges that have no professional grade counterpart anywhere in the supply chain. Plumbers consistently rate these lines as acceptable only for rentals or short-term ownership, because the fixtures aren't designed to be serviced or repaired with standard tools. When the cartridge fails, you often can't find a replacement that matches the original spec, and the entire unit goes in the trash, because the threading and the body are too cheap to survive a second install. The manufacturer never intended you to keep it running for decades. Retail guides frame these lines as perfect for budget remodels or rentals where the owner doesn't plan to stick around. That's code for disposable. The fixture isn't expected to outlast the lease, and the manufacturer knows you won't be the one pulling out the wrench when it fails on a Saturday night. At least with a house brand, you know what you're getting. The next entry doesn't even give you that warning. It looks legitimate, and metal inside can poison your water without you ever tasting or smelling the difference. You can't see lead, and you can't taste it, which is exactly why the federal stop-use order was urgent enough to make the national evening news. Packaging will say it meets all standards. What it doesn't say is that the standard it meets is a 5-year replacement cycle, not the 20-year ownership horizon that any plumber or homeowner would reasonably expect. Item 3. The CPSC Lead Gang. In 2025, the Consumer Product Safety Commission told Americans to stop using certain kitchen and bathroom faucets immediately. The recall was not about leaks or drips. It was about lead leaching into drinking water at levels so dangerous that regulators warned infants, children, and pregnant women were at the highest possible risk. This was not a voluntary manufacturer recall. It was a federal stop-use order backed by data. The brands named in the alert were Basdehen, Kitchen Pro, Faucet, Vesla Home, KZH, Sainol, Rainsworth, Nicti, HGN, and Komalangma. Most were sold on Amazon. The recall covered 100,000 kitchen faucets for some brands. Regulators told households that couldn't immediately replace the fixtures to run the water for 15 seconds before drinking it as a temporary risk reduction measure. Consumer Reports and NBC News covered the recall, and CPSC made clear that running the tap was a band-aid, not a fix. So the only safe move was immediate removal. These are not isolated cases. They are the extreme end of a cost-cutting system where manufacturers stripping out brass and ceramic have no margin left for safety compliance or testing. When you're already using the cheapest pot metal and the thinnest plating to hit a price point, lead control is one more corner that gets cut. These faucets failed basic lead-free standards that American plumbing has followed for decades, and they reached American kitchens only because online marketplaces let foreign sellers bypass checks that traditional supply houses enforce every day. Lead is the extreme case that makes evening news, but most big-box faucets fail more quietly, with plastic cartridges that simply wear out and leak long before the homeowner ever expected to pull out a wrench and replace them. Item 4. The plastic cartridge-only brands. Any brand that ships with an all-plastic cartridge and no ceramic disc option is building you a timer, not a faucet. Economy cartridges are molded from plastic instead of brass housings with ceramic discs, and they warp, leak, and develop gritty handle motion within 3 to 5 years. In hard water areas, some fail in as little as 18 months. Hard water makes it worse. Mineral buildup attacks the low-tolerance plastic surfaces, and the handle grinds before the second anniversary of installation. Plumbing firms report over 70% of faucet leak calls are traced to cartridge failure, and budget plastic cartridges fail early at a rate that drives serious warranty cost pressure. Industry data treats failure rates above 1% as a serious problem, and plastic cartridges in low-end lines are a primary driver. Premium brass-bodied ceramic cartridges routinely last 10 to 20 years without grinding in normal use. But the economy version in your big box bargain might not survive 3. That isn't a defect in the molding process, it's the engineered lifespan, chosen so the replacement cycle lines up with the next remodeling trend. Manufacturer isn't hiding the failure, they're scheduling it. Some brands go further. They don't give you a plastic cartridge that fails, they remove the repair option entirely, wall it off behind proprietary designs, and turn a simple $15 repair into a $400 full replacement that forces you to buy a new fixture from the same shelf because the threading is too cheap to hold up through another install. Item 5. The proprietary prison brands. Moen's PosiTemp and Delta's MultiChoice are proprietary ecosystems. They simplify repair within their own walled garden, but they lock out cross-compatible parts from any other brand. That means a plumber can fix your Moen quickly if he has the right cartridge in his truck. But a generic replacement won't fit, and neither will a competitor's part. Off-brand imports and budget lines take this further. They use generic cartridges with no long-term part support. Or they pot the mechanism in epoxy so it cannot be disassembled outside the factory. You have seen this before in appliances, where the control board is encased in resin, and a 10-cent seal fix becomes a $400 motherboard swap. And the faucet industry is copying the appliance playbook because the trick works. When manufacturers remove that option, they convert a mechanical valve into a subscription model, where you pay for the full fixture every time a rubber seal wears out. That is the same digital handshake and epoxy potting scam this channel exposed in appliances. You have seen this ending before. Now that same logic is sitting in your sink, waiting for the day you turn the handle, and nothing happens. If you've watched this far, you already know the real question that matters more than any name printed on a chrome box or stamped on a cardboard package. It's not which brands to avoid. It's where to buy the faucet that you'll only have to install once in the next 2 decades. And the answer is simpler than the marketing makes it look. The supply house rule. If the faucet didn't come from a plumbing supply house or from a brand with documented brass-bodied ceramic cartridges and open parts support, you're renting it. You don't own it. Drop a comment if you have been burned by one of these traps. Subscribe for the next forensic audit, because the appliance industry is running the same playbook with digital handshakes and hardware lockouts.